Hey again, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm, and I'm here today to talk to you about drought-tolerant plants. Now you may think it's kind of a funny day to make a point about drought-tolerant plants on this cool, wet, early summer day. I guess it depends on what kind of point you're trying to make. The point I'm going to make first of all in this video is that don't wait until it's dry, don't wait until it's the hottest day of the year to start putting drought-tolerant plants into your garden. You'll find that plants like this silvery senecio that's listed as drought-tolerant, and all of the other drought-tolerant plants you'll find in books and on their tags are followed by a little asterisk, or the very next sentence will say, once established in the landscape. So you can't just plunk it into the ground in the middle of summer and expect it to have any sort of drought tolerance. In fact, it's very likely to die quite quickly if you don't water it. So keep that in mind. In this video here, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite drought tolerant plants. I'll put those up with pictures and with the names, both common names and Latin names as well. Where appropriate, or where the weather allows, I'll show you in the landscape as well. I'm going to follow that up by talking a little bit about the cultural requirements of drought-tolerant plants, how you can establish them in the gardens to give them the best possible chance.
Let's start with light blue. Nepeta, or Catmint, has beautiful flowers all season long and textured foliage. Just don't blame me if you find your cat rolling naked in it. Kniphofia, or red hot poker, and this one has a bunch of new cultivars and so many bright colors now. Centranthus, or Jupiter's beard, may be even a little too successful in a dry, poor soil, but a beautiful addition to the garden nonetheless, in sort of a brick red color or also in white. Salvia is wonderful, and hey, let me just take you out to the garden and show it to you. The purple spikes of flowers you see here are from Salvia. The cultivar is a well-known one called Salvia caradonna, a woodland sage with fragrant foliage and reblooms throughout the season if you deadhead it. Here on the left you'll see peonies. Now peonies don't bloom all the way through the summer, but they put on a beautiful display early on and become drought tolerant because they kind of go into a semi-dormancy over summer. They halt all their growth and they just hold their leathery foliage there and rely on their good root system to hold on to moisture. So even though they don't bloom through the summer, they are a drought tolerant perennial. And here on the left is Agastaki, which I've displayed before on my channel. And this is a tall variety. I believe it's called Blue Fortune. And gorgeous, gorgeous flowers all the way through the summer. Once again, if you stage them down by deadheading, you'll have blooms all the way through the summer. I should also talk about Penstemon, or beard tongue. And it's hard to believe anything so colorful with such tropical looking flowers will hold up all summer, but it does. In a ground cover, Ajuga, or also known as Bugle, is good even in a bit of dry shade, which is hard to come across in the garden. Artemisia fills in all of those silvery accents for the garden. And Baptisa, or false indigo, in this one, my favorite cultivar, Purple Smoke.
Here in a similar planting, I have spikes of Liatris in the center there coming up. Blazing Star is the common name, and Liatris is a prairie plant, so quite drought tolerant. And pushing over to the right here, past that Salvia again, I have lilies coming up. Now lilies are again drought tolerant by virtue of going dormant in the summer. So even though they won't continue to rebloom, and they'll sort of die down and put on brown foliage, the bulb is quite safe and drought tolerant, will take dryness all the way through the summer. Also in this group here, I have Rudbeckia, Gaura. I don't think you can see the foliage, but the flower spikes are starting to come up there towards the center. And Cleome, which I'll have to put a picture in of the Cleome because it's not quite blooming yet.
I can't forget about Sempervivum, or chicks and hens. It sure looks like the more tender tropical Echeveria, but it's extremely hardy even in cool winter climates. Echinacea, in the classic relaxed purple flowers, or something more double or more colorful now. Euphorbia, with the unattractive common name of Spurge, but available in an incredible range of shapes and sizes. And finally, Perovskia, or Russian sage, displays tall, airy spires of silvery blue flowers all season long if you deadhead it.
Here in the front garden, I have a beautifully colored purple sedum. This is an upright variety. Now, sedum is the kind of succulent plant that comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes and is a beautiful plant for considering in an area that won't get rainfall consistently through the summer. Backed up here, also in the garden, with yarrow, which yarrow is an excellent drought-tolerant plant in the landscape. I found that it doesn't do well in a pot. It sort of relies on its strong root system to give it the drought tolerance to dryness. And so if you have it in a pot, its supply of water is very limited and it wilts very easily. And just scanning over to the right here, I also have this allium. This is the Globetrotter allium, sorry, Globemaster allium that has already bloomed out for the season, but is still putting on a bit of a display with the dried flower heads. And allium is another plant that is drought tolerant by virtue of the fact that it goes dormant after its spring bloom season. One strategy that drought-tolerant plants exhibit is having silvery or reflective or woolly leaves to help them to hold on to moisture, as is the case with this senecio that I showed at the beginning of the video, or this Artemisia here as well. Other strategies that plants use is to have vigorous or deep or taprooted root systems or storage organs underneath the ground where they can hold on to some of that moisture. So it does benefit you to help establish the plant early enough in the season and not place them in a place where there's lots of competition from thirsty tree roots, which can hamper their ability to collect or retain that water. One final thing I'd like to discuss is that when you are establishing your perennials in the garden, whether they're drought tolerant or not, it benefits you to water deeply and infrequently rather than shallowly every day. Having those roots go searching for water helps to develop a strong, deep root system so that when dry times come, your plants have the resources to go looking for that water. All right, thank you so much for watching today. If you have any questions about these or other drought tolerant perennials, drop it below the video, and thank you again for watching.